What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. I'm BobbyFi here. I'm going to be talking through my plays of the day. Sort of going to make this giant slate small for us as much as possible. Obviously, we know we're subject to a ton of information. The way you want to treat these slates in general is like you are going to get in a million pieces of information. It's going to be a million values. And unfortunately, it's going to lead people mostly to stars and scrubs build. My general theory when that happens is to try to play just underneath the top level stars who tend to get not over owned, but owned more often than usual if on these types of slates. But if you play, the guys maybe the 9 and 8K range and you use the right value, I think that's a smart way to go about it. I'm just going to share my early builds really quick here with everyone. I don't usually do this on air, but I thought it'd be an interesting way to talk through it. And I'd love for a discussion in Discord if you guys want to pop up some questions, because I think we're going to find out. We don't know about Ja Morant. That opens up Tyus Jones, going to be the most obvious play. But we don't know what's going to happen in that situation yet. So assuming that Morant plays and everything, this is what I've got for right now. And I'm going to risk getting in trouble with DraftKings and FanDuel, but I'm going to show my lineups as they currently stand, as there's no way this is the way they could end up on a slate like this to end the day. So I just wanted to share them. Anyway, here we go. This is a first look of what I like on FanDuel, and I'll talk about some pivots as I go through it. I think Murray and Kuzma are the two most interesting to me over here. I really like the idea of paying up for Jokic as well at low ownership. I think you can do that. As you'll see when we get into my DraftKings builds, that's exactly what I did. The Vanderbilt, you could go either way with Vanderbilt or anybody on the Toronto side of the ball, but I would say Vanderbilt McDaniels is kind of a discussion point for which is closer. I doubt that I'll have Grant Williams in my lineup by the end of the day, but he is a placeholder for now and should get the minutes at least, even if I somehow end up needing him. Wiggins will probably turn into Tyus Jones, and so on and so forth. We'll make some different things happen in this lineup. But assuming that Van Vliet is out, I think that Gary Trent and Anunoby are really strong plays. I think all of those Toronto guys are really strong plays. But I like the prices on these guys, and I think they're both in play anyway in a good matchup against Minnesota, even if they're in. So this is my first initial build on FanDuel for the 1650. Obviously, it will look nothing like this by the end of the day, but gives you an idea of what I'm doing. And I thought I'd just talk through this real quick. The other thing on DraftKings, the guy who I'm going to have in the most of my lineups, and I've built more things to start, is Trae Young. Trae Young, I absolutely love tonight. It's a great matchup against Orlando. His numbers will go up like crazy. We've got Bogdanovich even questionable. This could even get better for him. And he's 9,400 price is just too cheap for him. We saw him destroying a tough matchup last night. I expect him to have another big night in a much better matchup. Love Giddey on both sites. As you see on FanDuel, he's really a staple at 7,200. I think he'll get a lot lower ownership on DraftKings at 83. And we see without Dort that his usage spikes like crazy. Dort actually had the largest usage spike without Shea. And Giddey is now just takes up almost all of that usage, so you want plenty of him. Again, Grimes and all these other value plays are going to turn into guys like Tyus Jones if Morant is out. Or if there's other information, it's a second of a back-to-back for a bunch of teams. There's tons of games. There's 11 games in play. So a lot of this could change. Capella is the one who's going to be chalky, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's like one of those he could break it one time, but like I hate playing him as chalk here. I still have him in 1 out of 3 in my current builds, but I think I actually prefer Drummond as the play with more upside in this matchup. I also love Julius Randle, plays really, really well against this Brooklyn team, especially. Had some monster games last year and has been, as you see with Randle, like he's just back on the Randle of old. The usage has been there. You see the assist pop back up. The rebounding has been great and the scoring has been great. I know you got an overtime in there, but even with that, he's been just absolutely awesome. So I think that he's a really, really strong play, and I'm not sure where the ownership ends up on him. As I mentioned, I'm going to force Jokic into a lineup or two. I think when people aren't going to play him, and he's had not low games for him, and he's still putting up 55s and 65s and all that stuff. Unless there's like a blowout of some sort in this game, which is definitely possible, although not the way Golden State's been playing. I think you're going to want to mix in Jokic into your lineups. I think you'll have the value to do it. His ownership will probably be higher than what it's currently projected, but by the end of the slate, he's a guy you want exposure to. Already you talked about Murray. Wiggins is a guy who's a filler piece right now at a minimum cost price. I think he's fine to play anyway, but it isn't very reassuring to see his production per minute. I mean, he played 34 minutes, took 5 shots. That's not exactly exciting, but guys playing 30 plus minutes at 3K are usually interesting. It's just we might have better value by the time the slate actually locks. So some of these are a little bit placeholders, and I would consider Wiggins to be a strong one. Bruce Brown, we saw the ceiling out of him last game. I'm not saying he'll do that again, but I still like the price at 4K, assuming that he gets the minutes again. And again, I want to attack this matchup a little bit, so I have a little bit of a game stack. I really think Curry gets underrated from a fantasy perspective because situations he's been in. When he's had the opportunity, he can really take control. And this is his first game with Brooklyn. You see him put up 38. I like him as a run back for Julius in that game. I think people might be off Jalen Smith a little more than they should be tonight. I don't know if anybody noticed, but he fouled out of that last game in only 17 minutes. He literally kept picking up 2 fouls in 2 minutes, and he didn't. I mean, his production was great, But all you need is this guy not to get in foul trouble. And I think those, I mean, as long as he continues starting like he did, I think you're going to see those minutes trend more upwards of 26, 27. And when that starts happening, I think you're looking at a lot of 35 plus fantasy point games. I think he's a really, really good value play. And I hope other people don't catch on to him. My first thought last night was when he fouled out was, God, I can't wait to fire this guy up again, because I think people are going to be afraid to do so. I mentioned Gary Trent over there. Probably worth noting what Steven Adams is doing now. If John Morant doesn't play, his usage goes up quite a bit. It's actually kind of shocking. But even with Morant in, like, I mean, look at what these numbers that he's been putting up lately. And you have it against the Portland team where they're going to want his size out there. So if we can assume him for in that 30-minute range on the back-to-back, which may be a little bit stretching on it after playing 32 minutes, I feel like he's another interesting play that probably will fall by the wayside by the time it's done, but I'll still have a tiny bit of ownership in him. Same with Grant Williams, Clint Capella. I'm still waiting to see for better stuff, but this is where I'm at for right now. I went through all the games. I think if you want to try to look at a game to stack of all these games, I think you could try to get as many pieces of, I like the Washington Indiana game. I love Kuzma. And I think you can mix it in with some other, you know, I don't want to say nonsense pieces, but some other tournament darts, I guess you would say. I don't mind if anybody wants to do that with Hachimura out, especially, but I haven't found the way to do it yet, but that would be one game worth stacking. Brooklyn, New York, it's more of a price-based stack than it is a game tempo stack. So that's why I like it. Cam Thomas is going to come in low owned, and I understand he didn't have a game the other night. He's going to be a streaky guy and his minutes might be in flux, but you can just see that he does have, like, I mean, if he plays 30 minutes, he usually puts up in that 35 plus range. And I think that's very possible tonight, even against the Knicks team that we don't generally like to pick on. Their defense is a lot worse with Kemba out there. And by the way, Kemba can be used as a Grimes play here as well. A couple other ones, Sacramento, Chicago. I like the game environment. I like the prices on the Sacramento side, but I'm having trouble getting to it just because I slightly prefer the Toronto, Minnesota game. And I like the prices on the Brooklyn, New York situation, which is really like a little mini rivalry, at least in the Knicks head. Even though they run New York anyway. It's just, I like this game. I think that you want to try and get some Siakam exposure. I know I don't have it as much in my current builds, but that's what I'm going to be trying to do. I really, really like, you know, the Towns play, obviously, again, even on the back-to-back. Edwards is questionable and Van Vliet is. That is what opens up this game to where we're going to really target it hard. Russell obviously becomes a very strong play. McDaniels is going to be a great play if Edwards is out. And I think it's a very good chance that he is. I even think Scotty Barnes, if you get Van Vliet out, is a really good play over here on DraftKings, even though he may not be in these early builds. This is just sort of my first look. And I think we're going to find a lot of information out. So I hope you join us live at 6 Eastern. And I want to just touch on one thing real quick that other people in the industry, there's a lot of good plays. I will say these guys are good plays. These guys are good plays. This lock thing makes me crazy. I don't want anybody asking me for locks. I don't want this game is too fluid. And everybody who says it, I mean, you listen to certain other sites shows and all you hear is lock, lock, lock. That's a lock. That's a lock. This guy's a lock. They'll mention 30 to 40 locks on a show. That's statistically impossible. You can have 8 players on the team. It makes no sense to me. I think it's really, really a bad job by the people in the industry. And I want to be different, talk to you about what I'm doing. And I do not talk like locks. Every now and then there will be a certain situation where that guy is a lock. Sure. But in general, no, it's not the way you should be approaching your tournaments. You should never be thinking like that. There's occasionally going to come up situations where, like, you know, whatever, a virtual lock last night we had was the obvious point guard situation for Minnesota. I'm sorry, for Memphis. Tyus Jones or DeAnthony Melton should be a very strong play, especially Tyus Jones, who never really seems to let down in those spots anymore since he left Minnesota. And Memphis is a well-oiled machine, so you're not going to get all the minutes, all the runs, but at minimum cost, those guys can be near locks. But even that, I don't think you should be treating people as locks in this game. And more importantly, I don't think you should be listening to people mouthing off, talking as if they know what they're talking about. And this guy's an absolute lock because of this. And they find one stat they like and they speak about it. No, let's try to find actual game flow, things that actually make sense. Let's try to break this down differently. Let's be better as an industry. And let's be better than just listening to guys talk about lock, lock, lock. And then they celebrate themselves the next day because one of the 7,000 locks they had ended up hitting. It infuriates me. So that's just a little rant I'm going on at the end. I will be live for you guys. And I'm again, our Discord has been absolutely on fire. Join the Discord. Come hang out with us. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know this is sort of I don't want to say it's a vague first look, but it's giving you an idea of what I'm doing and what I'm looking at without getting into all the minutia of every game, because quite frankly, today, I didn't have the time and I wanted to come out with an actual idea of what I'm doing. And it really took me a while this morning. I also skipped the Rams parade. A little disappointed about that one. Just a little too busy over here working on a lot of site, getting a lot of site built up a lot. And we've got a lot of work going on. So I really also got a big golf tournament tomorrow, which we're going to show out in a little bit for that. Anyway, this is just a way that I'm looking at the slate. This is my first approach, my first look. I'm sure I'll get in trouble for posting actual lineups, but again, these are just first look lineups and what I'm doing at this moment. That is nothing going to be, there's no way on a slate this big that will be what they look like when it locks at 7 Eastern. So meet us at 6 Eastern. I'll be there for you. I'm not 100% sure about Sheets yet, but I think he'll be there as well. And let's make some money tonight, guys. Let's absolutely crush it. Good luck, everybody.